good morning. We are still on the Rush Talk on Urban TV. I am Agatha Mhaise. Today in our big issue we are tackling who is polluting Kampala. I think a recent report showed that Kampala is the third most polluted country in Africa, and it is the 8th in the world, I believe. Actually, they said that in Kampala, if you do not smoke, you smoke 2 cigarettes a day from the pollution that is in the area. I am joined by Alex Taremwa, a climate change activist from Last Drop Africa, and Peter Ssetenda, or the Kampala Capital City Authority Environment Officer. A very good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
We are doing fine.
Did you meet any pollution? Did you feel it? You can't escape it. So I will start with Peter. Kampala, when you're moving around, you will notice that the environment is misty, the water is green, the noise is too much. What is KCCA doing about this? Because all this is pollution.
Well, as KCCA, we do appreciate that those problems are surely existing, and we are handling them systematically. For example, when we start with noise pollution, we have a team in place, a noise pollution monitoring team that is handling noise issues in the city. It moves around the city 24/7 and handles the cases that are found on ground.
And how many decibels do they agree with? Or what are the set decibels of noise allowed in Kampala City?
According to the National Environment, Noise Standards and Control Regulations that guides all our activities in noise pollution in the city, noise is measured according to time, whether it's daytime or nighttime. At the same time, it is measured according to an existing land use. For example, if it is a residential area or a commercial area or an industrial area. For example, the maximum permissible noise levels, and that's the maximum noise that you can emit in a residential area during daytime. Daytime is from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. is 60 decibels if you're in a residential area. And at night, that's from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., it is 40 decibels. So when you're moving around in residential areas, the team has to establish that all activities that are conducted in a residential area do not exceed 40 decibels, that's at night, and then 60 decibels during the time. If you're found polluting beyond those permissible levels, you are served with a notice. The first is always a warning notice, and then the second one is always a stop notice to stop all activities that are emitting noise beyond permissible levels. So if you become chronic, because some places become chronic, like we have seen several places in the city that turn out to be rowdy the whole night or morning. What happens is we do impoundment of the music emitting equipment, and then we charge them in court.
Then what about the misty air and the green water in our...
The green water is basically near we have established that it's near industrial areas and where urban agriculture is being carried out. So many of these industries use old technologies, and at the end of the day, they discharge water that is not in the study, that's of poor quality. It has chemicals, it's already polluted, and this is also compounded by the wetland that was encroached on.
Yes.
Because the wetland used to provide ecosystem services where they could clean the water before it could join our only freshwater lake that we depend on in Kampala. But it was also encroached on by a number of activities like industry, agriculture, construction. So at the end of the day, many pollutants find their way in the water, in the fresh lake, that's Lake Victoria.
But isn't KCCA supposed to have a regulation whereby they can have a standard of how this water is filtered before it goes out?
True, we have a pollution task force in place. This is a platform that has members from different government institutions like National Environment Management Authority, Uganda National Bureau of Standards, National Water and Storage Corporation, KCCAA, Uganda Cleaner Production, Uganda Manufacturers Association. So all these government parastatals come together under that pollution task force to, first of all, not necessarily enforce, but to give technical support to industries so that they can engage in clean production technologies. That's one of the initiatives we started around like 5 years ago to help these industries not just come with the stick and hit first, but first engage with them that please can you engage in cleaner technologies so that our lake survives the adverse effects of your processes. So we have it in place, and it's the one that is giving technical guidance to these industries. We have not yet come with that stick of closing these industries. We are first building capacity so that our industries can appreciate that when I get into clean technologies, even the cost of production reduces, because if you have an effluent treatment plant on place, you won't suffer with water. You can even recycle the water in your processes.
Talking about you guys not whipping out the stick yet, let me bring in Alex. Do you feel satisfied, you as an activist, do you feel satisfied with what KCCA is doing right now when it comes to especially water pollution and noise pollution?
First of all, thank you. I have to appreciate the work that KCCA has done maybe over the last 10 years when it comes to aspects of pollution within the city. But you also have to understand that the more the population increases in the city, the bigger the problem becomes. So without proper funds and, as he has pointed out, proper systems in place, it is very hard to keep a city clean of pollutants. But as we stated earlier in your introduction, and as most cities are suffering with, not just Kampala, the quality of air, the quality of water has significantly reduced. Previously, Kampala had about maybe 1.5 million people.
Yes.
We're now coming close to 4 million in the city.
Yes.
Previously, we had maybe 500,000 vehicles. We now are coming to 1 million and past.
On top of the unpaved roads.
Exactly.
Yes.
So all of this compound the problem that they are dealing with, which leaves us in a very precarious situation. If you look at water, for instance, even if you just walk around, when it rains any day of the week, like it has this morning, most of the roads within Kampala now have carried all the sewage from all the drainage areas that have even burst and are compounding them to Nachivobo Channel, and they're going to flow straight to Lake Victoria. The factories that are within the city, we're in the industrial area now, and as he said, they work with some very old technologies. Some of them just, even without reckless abandon, they just let this waste to the channels that go straight into the lake. So even when we have the national water supplying us with water, they still get the same water from the lake. That's why national water is trying to move their production from Gawa here to Katosi, where they assume because there's less people at that side, there could be less pollution, and then we'll have some clean water to work with. You know, I think what, 3 years ago, about 5 years ago, we had a typhoid outbreak in Kampala here.
Yes.
If you eat breakfast downtown, chances of you contracting an interesting waterborne disease is above 90%.
In fact, Kampala is considered usually a danger zone when it comes to an Ebola outbreak or cholera.
So while I'm not entirely satisfied with what they've done, I am also confident that with new technologies that are emerging, they're able to track, for example, the quality of air with newer companies like Airco that are working within the city, and then partner, not just with the government, but with other private stakeholders to see how they can find mechanisms to reduce this. And there are many ways that they can do it. For air pollution, for instance, we can come up with a functional public transport system to eliminate the number of cars that come within you know, the capital.
About the air pollution, I wanted to come back a little to Peter. How does KCCA measure air pollution, and what dangers is it posing on the health of the residents in the city?
KCCA is working in partnership. At the moment, is working in partnership with AirCo. These are people from Makerere University School of Public Health, and we have set up what we call low-cost monitors in various parts of the city. It's a new initiative. You know, air pollution is a new initiative that has come on board. So we measure air quality using low-cost monitors that have been placed in various parts of the city. For example, we have placed monitors in schools, in heavy traffic areas, in offices, and in residential areas. The reason why we place them in various land uses is that we want to establish which sector pollutes more. So that at the end of the day, when we are coming up with strategies, we come with meaningful and impactful strategies that can address the problem from the source. So with KCCA working with other partners, that's how we are trying to address the air quality problem. At the same time, we are creating awareness, like this Awareness Week, so that people can appreciate that surely there is an air pollution problem in the city. Among other problems, it's one of the problems that have come up that we need to appreciate, and that it has adverse effects on our health. For example, if you take an example of the traffic in the city, many of our cars are old and they don't carry out complete combustion. Of course, together with the poor services that are being done in this country. So at the end of the day, when the cars don't carry out complete combustion of the fuels, in traffic jam, a lot of adverse, dangerous gases are emitted.
And this is gas that we inhale.
And we inhale. Even today morning, I was seated somewhere, and when they ignited the car, I felt the impact. Then I said, oh my God, this is what we are going to talk about. So we have health impacts from irritations to cancers that are common these days, to issues to do with low birth weight in women. All these are contributed to by the various gases and the chemicals we take on as we're exposed in environment. Yes.
Alex, give us maybe, and I think Peter can come in later on, give us how Kampala could be, the pollution in the Kampala city could be contributing to climate change.
Okay, now we notice what we can dispute now is the level of flooding that we have, which might not exactly be a sort of climate change, but mostly a result of the poor drainages in the city, which in itself compounds the problem of consumption, because if the water that we consume, either bottled or otherwise, boiled or not, is from this waste process, then the effects that we have on our bodies are going to be advanced. And you used to look around the city and find out how many green belts do we have. I saw in the papers the other day when the Lord Mayor suggested that before he leaves office, one of the things he will do to help with the air problem is to set up a forest of sorts, like a sort of 5-acre forest, as part of his parting shots, to help the city absorb some of these dangerous chemicals that are emitted from within the industries. We are very lucky as Kampala that we are almost engulfed or surrounded by one of the largest freshwater bodies in the world, which is Lake Victoria. And we have made a good effort to even destroy what we have left, what would have been our
saving grace,
our last line of defense. So now what we have left, and I'm glad we talked about it, is we have these vehicles which by average age are like 20 years old.
In fact, I talked to him sometime about it, about a law that was passed whereby a certain brand of cars that or like age that was not allowed to be imported into Uganda, especially with used cars. And that law died out almost as soon as it came.
You know, in this country, we are so good, and I must admit, we're so good at creating laws that would have worked if they were implemented as they should. He began by talking about the noise reduction, noise pollution. And I'm sure you've seen how, for example, in Nairobi, how the current governor of Nairobi is suffering with removing bars and discotheques from residential areas because people need some good sleep at night. And it helps for them to sleep better. When you sleep better in the morning, your productivity is a bit high. And in Kampala back then, you'd find the clubs and this side of the industrial area. But now, you take 2 steps where you live, you will find a chidandali there. Another 2 steps, you find a chidandali there. They came up with a law to regulate the border industry. And the other day they said almost the biggest majority, which was almost over 150, had not been registered within the city. But we still have them contributing. If there was an organized way to have the traffic flow in this country regulated, and like I suggested earlier, have a functional public transport system like is working in other places, we would have, let me give you a scenario. The other day I was in Gulu, and one of the colleagues I'm working with said, during the lockdown, that's when they felt an aspect of their childhood come out. They could smell the green grass. when it rains, you can smell that from the soil.
Yes.
You almost want to kiss it. But why do you think that was? Because almost all cars stayed home and there was less pollution on the roads for someone to be able to feel that connection with nature. The reason why the cars weren't on the road, or what we learned from that, is that if we managed the way the traffic flows in Kampala and gave Alex Taremwa a chance to leave his car in Nakawa, come to town on a functional public transport system, person in Kampala will be breathing some cleaner air. Not fresh, but cleaner air. But even in India, one of the most polluted cities in the world, during the lockdown, they were able to see the Himalayas for the first time. Because of the mist and the fog, they can never see the mountain. But during the lockdown, they were able to. So you can tell, and I'm surprised that he said they are now working with ERCO to find out who the biggest pollutants are. But we can name them off head right now without needing to monitor them. We know them. What we need to do now is, how can we implement these laws better to help ourselves overcome this situation that we are in?
Alex touched on planting trees that could help us absorb some of this bad air, and every day we see people cutting down trees to put up maybe arcades or new buildings or I don't know, estates.
With license from KCC.
With license from KCC. Are you guys not bothered that this is just getting the situation worse?
We're actually bothered, and we put that into consideration. It's very clear that whenever you cut one tree in the city, you're supposed to plant 2 other trees.
Where?
At your facility, it has to be incorporated in your project design. That whenever you clear the land and you cut one tree, you're supposed to plant 2 more other trees. And the species are always determined by the institution. That's KCCA, Landscape Department. It's the one that determines the kind of species that you're supposed to plant. At the same time, we are taking on initiatives of planting trees. We have done an initiative on that natural channel. We put there a lot of Glycidia, Coriandra along that channel. One, to beautify it, and also to increase on the stability of the soil in that area. At the same time...
in fact, we are going to come back on that, and also I want you to talk about the noise in the different areas, especially residential areas. We are still talking about who is polluting Kampala City and who is responsible. Let us take a short break and we shall return and continue with our guests explaining to us how we can combat this situation.
We bring you current, relevant, authentic, local and international news.
In a special series, Teachers Making a Difference.
We got the best performed girl in the government school, came from our school.
Uganda now is part of the global era.
Everyone in the world became Moroccan when we saw the performances of the national team.
So that's it from Focus on Africa for today. Thanks for watching.
It's not just news. We bring the world to you. Tune into Urban TV on StarTimes channel 230 and Azam channel 356.
Urban.
You're still watching the big issue where we are still talking about pollution and why we are chain smoking in Kampala. I am still with Peter Ssetenda of Kampala Capital City Authority and Alex Taremwa of Last Drop. When we left, we had Peter explaining what they are doing about trees that are being cut down. But I wanted to take you somewhere else, still about the noise. We have so many people in residential areas like Kololo, and then he was talking about Akasharais, where there are bars, and yet it is a residential area, and residents keep complaining about this noise. Even during the lockdown, I believe, there was some noise complaints happening, yet they were all supposed to be closed. Is KCCA doing anything about this? Because you told us at night there is a particular decibel, and I believe those decibels are not supposed to affect the people that are in their homes. How are you guys doing? Have you done anything? Has anyone been prosecuted over this?
Surely, people are being prosecuted. Noise is one of the number one priorities now in the city, and we are addressing it aggressively. Like I talked about it earlier, that we serve notices and the like. We have gone ahead to put conditions on our licenses that if you contravene the noise pollution standards, we can revoke your license. That's how far we have gone. And indeed, we have revoked licenses of different facilities in this city. And also revoked licenses of events organizers and totally banned them to operate in this city. Because we want a livable city whereby we can live in harmony. You can operate your business, and also people who have to sleep have to sleep. The biggest problem was that before bars were bars where you could sit with a colleague and have a conversation. But as time went on, bars started to turn out into nightclubs where people were interested now in video mixing and people dancing and the like. So those are the things that we are handling now. If you want to carry out your video mixing, simple, soundproof your place, soundproof your area. That's why you see now we're working with our physical planning directorate to ensure that, one, when we come to you, we ask you, where is your plan? Where is your title? What does your title talk about? Is this supposed to be a commercial title, or is it supposed to be residential? If it's a title prescribing residential, then how can you have a bar in this area?
In the same place, yes.
So we can automatically close you up. That's how far we have gone. We have left it as serving on notices, prosecution. Now we are going into other avenues in which you can enforce the noise pollution regulation in the city. So you have to look at your title. What does it talk about? If you make noise, if you can't manage yourself, then we can revoke our license and then we do other things. But with prosecution, we are doing it aggressively, and people have felt a pinch. So I promise Kampala people that very soon Kampala is going to be
a quiet place?
No, a livable city. It can't be quiet because there is some permissible noise levels that's allowed in the city. But it doesn't have to blare or inconvenience someone, preventing from your good sleep, from children doing their homework, or you're watching your television.
Before I jump back to climate change, Alex, he's talking about all the prosecution they're doing and revoking people's license, but we have seen this over and over. For example, we still have mobile cars, you know, these advertising cars that advertise concerts moving around. We have Subaru drivers that drive their cars, like, it's the noise pollution itself. It doesn't even have to be the air pollution. Do you think they're doing enough?
I had one driver today at 3 a.m. I don't know. It sounded like another shooting. When it comes to prosecution, again, I also sympathize with KCCA because some of the organizers and owners and operators of these discotheques and bars are very highly connected people. And that's how even during the lockdown they were able to operate. I mean, it's not a secret that there were places you'd go to known to be operating and they were still operating through the lockdown. And even when you know that there are permissible levels of noise that they can emit, they can almost wanton break that.
Are they untouchable?
That law. Not quite, but they are, can I say, insulated from the law. But also, I have to give it to some of the bar owners and operators in this country that they have made significant effort to soundproof their places. So except for some of the incidences where, like for example, someone's advertising a concert, which once in a while, it's the only way of marketing that they might have. They can't afford coming to urban television and placing an advert or buying a billboard over there. So I might excuse that because everyone has to earn in this country. But when it comes to inconveniencing, especially during the night, there I'm very, I have no apologies. Especially even when those that do it are aware and those that are supposed to
stop them
are also aware of their presence, but nothing happens. So that's now how people take it to social media, and because even if people make you aware of a situation and you're still unable to work on the situation, the only conclusion there is that you're part of the problem.
Yes.
Like that's how every day we're blaming KCCA for not putting in the work.
We talked about climate change earlier and how pollution in Kampala is contributing to it. Is KCCA doing anything to mitigate this?
True. We have initiatives that are geared towards addressing climate change concerns. For example, now in KCCA we have non-motorized corridors where cars are not allowed on the road.
What are some of these? I think I've only seen the street.
That Namirembe Road,
yes,
as you come all through Room Street.
Yes.
Those are non-motorized corridors.
But they're non-motorized and we see border borders there.
You know, when you put up an initiative, the people who are bound not to appreciate and abuse it.
True.
But our teams are always on ground, and I believe you have seen them on several occasions, arresting those border riders. Although when you arrest them, people start saying that, you know,
you go for the small fish.
You go for the small fish, or you go for the city. But surely we are trying to make people appreciate that surely this is a non-motorized corridor. It's for either bicycles or people moving on foot. All these are geared to reducing the pollution in the city and make people change their mind that you can move on foot. Why do you always need to get a border from the taxi park to Namirembe Road? For what reason? You also have to live healthy. You do some exercises there. To Room Street.
The burglars. Anyway, what other measures is KCCA taking on?
That's one of the initiatives, and then, like I said, we are planting trees, and we are taking on the bypass now with support from Rotary. We are planting over 20,000 trees there to increase on cleaning of the air by the tree coverage that we have in the city. Of course, we are not forgetting awareness creation on the impacts of climate change in the city. We have different...
That's where we come in.
We have different initiatives that are being taken up. And I must say that we have a fully fledged climate change department in KCCA that comes up with such strategies that we can use to address climate change concerns in the city. So with support from other stakeholders, we believe we shall reach there.
So stakeholders that are supporting KCCA, do you see this making any change anytime soon? How long?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you capitalize on the awareness campaign creation. For example, there's actually quite a significant number of electric boda-bodas. Or if our people took keen interest in taking these electric boda-bodas as opposed to the other fossil fuel effluent boda-bodas, would at least now make an effort on that end. And then now they would have a competitive advantage to increase the production of those boda-bodas and then in a way reduce the number of carbon emissions that come from these other, the same as the motor vehicles. But ever since we had the Chira
electric car from Chira, yes.
breakthrough,
yes.
You've not had much innovation in that space. Yet I would have assumed that as people who capitalized on being the first solar bus, you know, we would have moved at that level.
If we had
now, other countries have even made green, you know, bus parks. They have taken this solar charged cars and batteries to another level. Just here in Nairobi, they're doing it. For us, we have almost stagnated at the same level we were 5 years ago when this bus first hit the streets. So I think mindset change is important. To know that, for example, if you're drinking a bottle of water, you don't have to throw it outside of your taxi. There's consequence for that. That's why you find floods there, because the drainage channel is blocked. That if Agatha and Alex are married, we both cannot drive out of our compound in 3 cars. One is taking the children, one is taking me, one is taking you. We just use one car.
Use one vehicle.
We carpool and we all go get to work. Why should 3 cars leave a compound in the same morning, come back in the same evening? The amount of gas that is created on that road, and even the amount of money that we lose by just sitting on the road for 2 hours getting to work, is money we could have used for initiatives like he has talked about, to move from 20,000 trees to about 200,000, you know.
Yes.
And then this encroachment on wetlands all over this place. There's a wetland on the northern bypass there that they have been fighting to get people away from for about like 15 years. But almost every single year, people come back. There's political protection for these people, but there's flooding for these people still, and then now there's chaos. What do you expect when you settle in a wetland? You know, these industrial areas, the belts that we have, like in Namamve or even here where we are, for example, what would have been the initiative to move residents from this place elsewhere, so that we know that when we go to industrial area, what you expect in industrial area is what comes out of an industrial area. But now you have this mishmash of human beings working and living here, but then you have the fumes also coming out of this place. What do you expect out of that?
Yes.
That's what Joachim Wembo was saying, that there are some results, logical results that should come out of something. You get, if you live in an industrial area, you cannot complain if your chest is heavy, if you have flu every day.
Yes.
That's what you get for living in a place or for invading a wetland. If you're flooded, then do not complain. If you throw water, plastic bottle out of your vehicle when you're driving, do not complain. When you meet floods, you have no right. So that mindset change is where I would, or as a last drop would help the authority to get the word across.
Some of the initiatives that Alex was raising, like say the electric bus, that could actually be a good mitigation of having transport taking people to the city. What is KCCA doing about decongesting the city?
Like we started earlier, we had started with border borders, because border borders were the biggest problem in this city. And we have registered them, and now they're trying to gazette stages. One, to reduce on the number of border borders in the city, because they totally mess up the city. Their pollution is also too high because of the numbers. So one of the initiatives is one, registering them, and then gazette cities that are going to be stages that are going to be fewer in the city.
But how will that handle all the border borders that are in Kampala, because there are quite a number?
No, some border borders have to exit this city. Like it has happened on taxis. Some taxis were sent on the suburbs. Like you see in Banda, like you see in Bwaise, like you see in Chengera. So we sent taxis off Kampala streets, and we told them to come on those. There are stages that we established on those suburbs, so that people can come stop there and then get
Other means.
to come to the city. So even borders, it's must, they have to reduce in number because there's so many. So we have to establish a few stages to reduce on the numbers. And two, the areas where borders are not going to be allowed, where there's a no-go areas, so that we can totally make them functional for even walking. Because one of the other issues we have in the city is that
the walkways
are taken on, walkways, the pavements are taken on by borders.
Yes, they
take
both
the
sides.
border guy is hitting you with the side mirror.
So
we have to look into this to see that surely reduce the numbers and also establish stages and also allow some borders to get out of specific areas so that they can have our movements go on.
Better.
That's one of the initiatives that they were taking. The second one I talked about was about the taxis, establishing tax parks along the boundaries of the city, so that we reduce on the number of taxis also that are coming in the city. I believe if you have visited the old tax park now, it's evident that there are few taxis there. Before there are quite many, but at the moment there are few of them. The reason being that because of those tax parks that have been established in the suburbs of the city. So those are some of the initiatives that are coming back. We have plans of coming up with buses, like my colleague said. We want to reduce on the volume of taxis. A bus can take so many people to the city. Then if these buses come
and they're cheaper,
True.
and and they keep time, because the issue is about time. If the buses were there, there's no reason as to why you should drive a car alone to the city when the buses are there. No, there's absolutely no reason. So we want to plan these buses come, take huge volumes, and then reduce the number of taxis. I believe I have seen how the trains are helping us, especially on this Ginger Road route. When the train comes in the city, you can see volumes of people getting out of the train station.
Isn't that train also one of the emitters?
How old it is.
But at least it's one.
Yes.
There are not so many. So that's the way we are going, looking to increasing the volume of the cabins that are bringing people in the city, and using on so many matatus that are coming in, borders that are coming in, the taxis that are coming in. So that's the way we are going, and I believe we are going to
get it better. In a few minutes, Alex, sensitization. He has talked about having trains, having buses. We have a population of Ugandans whereby if I have bought my Vitz, I want to drive it. How do you convince such a Ugandan that it is better for the environment, better for your health, to leave that car at home and take a bus or a train to work?
You know, if there was a functional public transport system, that would have been very easy. Because, I mean, even countries that have developed, they have Mercedes-Benzes parked, even electric ones, they still prefer to take the train to work. Because like you said, it keeps time, it's cheap, and you're not worried, about, safety or security issues that us we're worried about every day, losing your phone downtown. So if it's just a matter of confidence that the city authority has to develop to know that if I take this train to Namave, chances of me losing anything or me getting or delayed are eliminated. So for me, that's it. It's a matter of boosting confidence in people. And I think this is one thing that other cities that are coming up can copy or from other places or learn from Kampala. Because even the populations are growing, but they're also growing the same problem that Kampala is growing with. So you have Gulu, Mbara, Fort Portal, all these other newly accredited cities. If you look at Kampala as a city they would want not to become, they might develop a better system or whatever they are, because they still have the chance to do that. To have green belts with the neighborhoods, to have clean places where they can deposit trash, recycle and reuse, and also demarcate industries separately from where the residential places for human beings should be.
Okay, thank you so much, Alex, and thank you so much, Peter. That was the big issue. We find out who's polluting Kampala and how we can help to improve it. Please stay tuned. Miles Ramiti will be sitting with Segirinya, who spent 2 years in prison. What happened? How is he coping life after prison? I'm Agatha Mhaise, and I was taking you through the big issue.